I'm Janeane. This is KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and this is Get the Funk Out. Well, I'm so excited to welcome author of the best-selling book, Pancakes in Paris, back. Craig Carlson is standing by. He's calling in from Paris to talk about his latest book, Them Eat Pancakes, One Man's Personal Revolution in the City of Light. The book came out July 7th, 2020, and I'm so excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Oh, it's great to be here. How are you doing?
Good. The first thing I noticed about you was your amazing background. Could you give us a little taste of what's going on?
Yes, this is my apartment in the Marais in Paris. And it's from, I believe it was constructed about 1815, according to the records. And we started renovations on this place to open it up. And so as you can see, all these wood beams are all exposed now. And
Yes.
it's just beautiful. And now it's vaulted ceiling, goes all the way up to the mezzanine.
Gorgeous.
But the renovation started in January. And of course, March, the confinement happened.
Mm-hmm.
So everything came to a standstill. And so Julian and I, my husband, we had no place to stay all of a sudden. So we moved into my diner, which is a whole fun story in itself. We lived above the diner during the lockup, and we couldn't go outside. We couldn't do anything, but yet every morning the New York Times was delivered. It was considered essential material.
Okay.
I'd turn on the coffee pot, toast myself a bagel and cream cheese, and thought,
I love it.
Sit in a booth and think life's not so bad.
Wait, you're not having a croissant. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but you're having a bagel.
Having a bagel, exactly. Or, a bagel or a muffin or omelets, pancakes, of course. Because,
of course.
Julian was experimenting with all kinds of new recipes over those 2.5 months being locked up, where I didn't step outside once for 2 months.
Wow.
And he was making buckwheat pancakes and what else? Cornmeal pancakes, blue corn pancakes.
Amazing.
It was the best confinement you could have.
So for listeners who didn't listen to my first segment with you on your first book, tell me about how the first book came about and how you got to the second book.
Well, the first book, Pancakes in Paris, is about the whole adventure of starting the first American breakfast diner in Paris, and how I had this aha moment when I was in LA, because I'd been working on a TV show in Paris. I used to work in TV a little bit. And when the show ended, my friends took me to a breakfast place in downtown LA. And the moment my breakfast feast arrived, which was buckwheat pancakes, eggs, ham steak, sourdough toast, I had this epiphany, because I knew I wanted to live in Paris after that experience, but I didn't know what I wanted to do next. And suddenly I went, oh my God, the one thing I missed when I was in Paris, just looking at that breakfast. Yeah. And at that moment, it was this aha moment. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to open a diner. And my friends who were with me said, yeah, right. Let me get
They
this
thought
right.
you were sleep deprived or something.
Yeah, something, right? Or jet lag.
Okay, like Craig.
You've never had your own restaurant, your own business. You can barely cook, and you want to open a restaurant in Paris in a foreign language, foreign country. That's the culinary capital of the world. Good luck. And so the whole book is that, against the odds, battling the odds. One of the things readers always say is, how did I just not give up? Because the obstacles I faced the entire way, most of them humorous, some of them heart-wrenching, led me to having 2 diners in Paris, one on each bank, the left bank and right bank, and which started off appealing to expats and tourists, but now 70% of our customers are French. So we're a bit of a French
wonderful. Amazing. Now, so. How did you not give up? Because I could only imagine there's so many things that were challenges along the way.
Well, I think there's a couple things. I think my grandmother, I have a Polish grandmother who was very stubborn, and just when she had something in her mind, and I think I have that little bit of obsessiveness. And I think when you have an idea like that, that's so clear and so lucid, you that's all you can think of. And so I was just laser focused on this. And then, to be honest, and I make a joke about it in the book, I gave up everything in the States, and I was already, I had $64,000 in student loan debt. My credit cards were maxed out. And here I come over to the country with some seed money from investors to try to get a loan and a location. And at one point it looked like everything was going to fall through. And I sat there and I thought of Richard Gere in An Officer and a Gentleman, where it's like, I've got nowhere else to go. Remember that famous scene?
Seriously.
And I thought, yeah, and I was like, okay, I've got to make this happen. So I think sometimes when you put in all the chips, you just have to go to the end. And
right.
So I think that was the one point where I really thought maybe this wasn't going to happen, and what am I going to do now? But I got through that last hurdle, and then a whole bunch of new ones came. But
of course they do. It's like a bad movie.
Exactly.
Right? And let's throw in a coronavirus.
Right, exactly. Like now, it's like, wait, what? Well, that's funny you should say that, because all last year with the Gilets jaunes, the yellow vests were protesting and burning things and knocking over down things, and all of us restaurant cafes were like, are we going to make it through this? That calms down, and then Paris goes on strike, the biggest strikes in 20 years. And we're going to make it through that. And then February, suddenly everything was coming back. And we're like, wow, we had our best month in years. It's like, oh, we're getting through this. And then, of course, the virus. But it affected everyone, of course. But it's part of the adventure.
And at what point, how long did it take you to write the second book? And, what was that like? Because you're juggling so many things.
Yeah, let's see, after the first one, well, I can first explain why I wrote the second one. The first one pretty much took me up to where the introduction of Julian and how I met him and how the diners were launched and finally how they pretty much became successful. But I really wanted to write about how it changed my life. That's why the subtitle of the book, One Man's Personal Revolution. And also I wanted to show that America and France, we could really learn from each other. Because I think for myself, I feel like I have two parents, one French, one American. And I feel like there's so much to offer on both sides. American optimism that kind of don't give up and, can do anything. And the French sense of community, stability, the way they've handled this crisis has been quite impressive. They just kicked right into gear. They have a great social safety net. And for example, I didn't have to lay off any of my employees.
Right,
the government took it over, gave them unemployment benefits.
Good.
As I ease back into work right now, I can hire them, bring them in part-time. The government covers the rest of it.
Great.
So I'm not forced to bring them all back in full-time. And it makes such logical sense. But it's there to help the business and the worker. And so there's so much in France that's like this. And I think there's that on the business end, and then the personal level too. I think the quality of life here we could learn a lot from in America, and I think also again I keep saying positivism because even French will say that how we just look on the bright side of things so much, and I think
I like that.
That is a wonderful attribute that Americans have. So the book really evolved into that as I wrote it, where I really realized, wow, we could really learn from each other. And so it took me, to answer your question, it took me about a lot faster than the first book. I think partially because I had done a book tour with the first book, met lots and lots of my readers, and I would tell them new stories and new things that had happened. And they're like, oh, that has to go in a book. That has to go in the next book. So already I pretty much knew the stories I wanted to tell. It was just a question of how to structure the book and make it compelling and interesting. And so that took a little bit of time, but overall it took only about a year and a half to write the book, where the first one took almost 3 years. I'd say half the time.
Yeah. I think because when you get to the second book, your vision is more focused and you kind of understand the process, and that you really want to crank it out faster too.
Yeah.
You agonize over the first one.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
You're learning as you go, and it was my first book. And I hadn't had screenwriting experience, so that helped with the narrative. And I learned a lot about, keeping the viewer, or now in this case the reader, hooked, so that they want to read more. They want to feel themselves in the story, feel the details, see everything as they're reading it. So I think that my cinema background really helped for that. But this one, I think I was able to go a little bit more literary into it. So I was pleased with that. I was able to.
That's great.
I forget the expression.
It's very inspiring. My show is called Get the Funk Out. And I don't know anybody who's not going through a personal, professional funk right now.
Yes.
But to do what you did, to go to Paris, you could not speak the language, could you?
I was speaking it okay by then.
Okay, by
I
then.
still have a lot to learn,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, no, I lived as an exchange student and
Okay,
thought I had learned the language until I came back and had to live day to day and business languages particular. I didn't know any of the
sure.
terms, so I had to learn
Yes.
all that. But I could speak conversationally enough, which helped a
Good.
lot. It helped
That's
open a
good.
lot of doors.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, again, I had no idea of how complicated things would be. For start, I've spoken. There's a funny moment in the first book where I go to get some training at a French restaurant in Paris. In Los Angeles, because I wanted to get. I hadn't had any restaurant experience. I had like a week crash course. And the owner, who was French, he's like, "Oh, I had a restaurant in Paris. I'd never do it again." And so I was like, "Oh boy,"
I can
because
see
he
you really
said,
took his advice.
yes, exactly. Well, I was like, oh, he's just saying that
Yeah.
because he said it was so much easier to set up a business in America. And again, that's something I think the French can learn, is to not be
Sure.
so complicated with the procedures. And but yeah, so it was tough.
But listen, I mean, when you think about it, you must be so relieved your business is not in LA right now.
Yeah, I have to say that because I really feel bad from all my breakfast joints and places there
Sure.
that inspired me, because there are many that I would take little pearls from them. For example, there used to be a place called Ships. And there
Hmm.
used to be a chain of them in Los Angeles, and a lot of LA old timers know this. And they used to have toasters at every table. I
Oh,
was like, oh,
cute.
I love this idea. So we have toasters at every table.
Oh, I
So
love
there's a
that.
lot of ideas that I was inspired by from American diners and coffee shops in LA, and sadly a lot of them are closing or on the last on their
I
last
know.
leg, and so I really want to get back to LA actually and just go back and support them and bring my business to them.
Right.
So I have to say that I think that's something I wish America would look a little bit at how France and Germany. There's a great article in the New York Times about how Germany has handled it, which is very similar to France,
Hmm.
and how they're weathering the storm very well. It's not to say there won't be a resurgence and there won't be another spike,
Sure.
but they're so much more prepared for it, and they had a plan for businesses like mine. And at one point, for example, I thought, oh my God, if I have to reduce my seating inside by 30, 40, 50%, how am I going to make it? Because the diner is made by butts and seats,
Yes.
as we say,
You bet.
turning those tables.
Right.
And so what they did is they allowed us to take over all the parking spaces in front of the restaurant. So
Oh,
we've expanded all our
fantastic.
yeah, and so that has helped us so much. So that they've
Yeah.
been thinking about that. How can we help the businesses and the employees, the workers,
Hmm.
and they have found a great balance. And so
Right.
I have to say, because you'll read things in both books, well, you pull your hair out and go, oh my God, how can you do business in that place? Because, for example, it's virtually impossible to fire someone. And some will take advantage of that, and some workers will know that they can pretty much do anything. They can lie about being sick, or they can
Why
somehow
can't you fire someone?
because here it's considered a job is almost like a right, and so when you get this contract, I have a chapter in there called the trial period, and that you have 2 months window to get it right, to decide if this person is going to, you want to keep them on permanently or not. And after that, it becomes an indefinite contract, and that is so hard to break. On
Wow.
one end, it's great for the employee, because when they have one of those, they can go to a bank and they can help get loans for, or when they're
Hmm.
renting an apartment, it shows they have stability, they have a
Ability,
job.
sure.
Yeah, and so that I understand that logic. But even if you talk to French people who are gung-ho about this, and you say, but should it be okay for an employee to just not show up to work for a week, and I had one employee who was stealing some things and posting it on Facebook,
Oh,
and they're like, well, you can't really prove that they stole it from the restaurant. I'm like, well,
oh,
that
really?
mustard
What's he
doesn't,
doing on Facebook?
like I have French's mustard, which aren't even sold in stores. It's only in my diner. I think that's kind of a giveaway.
Yeah,
So, so I think that's one of the most frustrating parts. And the worst is when you get an employee who knows how that works and they take advantage of that.
definitely.
Thankfully, they're relatively few and far between. I haven't had that, knock on wood, since this last chapter in the book, the trial period, which was about 3 years ago, was the last time I encountered something really tough like that.
Wow.
So I think we got a good record going. Thank God
Good.
my French husband is there with me, because he understands the system. He knows how to do the language,
Good.
uh, and work the bureaucracy much better than me on
Yeah,
my
you
own in
need
the
that.
first book. Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
You have enough on your plate.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the thing. You're just trying to stay open and stay in business, and it's
Yeah.
just, you don't need all that extra hassle. But now I understand more and more, why it's important for that here.
Yeah.
And
Let me
I
just
just
share with you a quick little
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes people here don't want to wear masks.
Yes. Yes.
And to me, why not? I mean,
Yeah.
plus, I feel like if you know what's going on in the healthcare system and how the doctors and nurses and all the frontline workers are just battling this
Yes.
virus, why wouldn't
Yes.
you?
Yeah, that's very true, and just it's pretty timely, because on Monday or Sunday night, the government announced new rules that whenever you're inside anywhere, you should wear your mask. And
Good.
so people mostly have been respecting it. My restaurant, I saw it completely change, because they would come in without it, and we'd serve them. But we said if you came up to pay by the register, if you went down to the bathroom, you had to put on your mask.
Hmm.
But now everyone's pretty much coming in wearing it. They take it off
Good.
when they eat, put it back on. Generally, I mean, there's a bunch of young people who still, I think that's in every country, who
Yes.
just, they feel immortal in this, and then they don't understand the connection with each
Exactly.
other. But everyone here, I think, gets the fact that it's not for you so much as for others. That's the thing. So
You
once
bet.
everyone is thinking of the other person instead of just themselves, it helps. And that's in the fabric of French society. They're very individualistic, and mon droit, my rights, and this and that. But they also get the connection, the social fabric.
I like
And
that.
yeah. And so I think we've had a lot of conversations here with my French customers about why is it a political issue? First of all, whether to wear a mask or not, it's a health issue.
Sure.
And to turn it into that is just, they can't understand it. And
Right.
so I just try to
Causes a
say,
lot of
well,
division.
I don't know how to explain it either, but
Yeah.
it is, right? Yeah. Yeah.
It really does.
So
What else would you like listeners to know about your book without giving too much away?
I think the fact, one review just came out and said that it just warms the heart. It allows you to travel to France, because right now you can't
I
leave the country.
know.
Right? Americans can't travel. So many friends have said, "Oh, I had to cancel my trip." It really is an armchair traveler book. It transports you to Paris, and I think you'll fall in love with the characters. I think there's a universal quality to the characters. For example, one of the more popular chapters, there's two, I think, one is my 86-year-old neighbor here in France, who survived World War II during D-Day in Normandy when she was a little girl, then became a university professor and fought for women's rights and did all kinds of things, but never had an American burger. Nothing as crazy as an American burger, a real burger. And so one day I said, come on, madame, I'll treat you. And she said, oh, no, I don't know. And she came, and there's a whole scene about her
Oh, I love
first
it.
time trying a burger. And she came from a very bourgeois family in Normandy, where she said every dinner was like this. You dress up. This is back in the 40s and 50s. There'd be knives and forks, like 4 or 5 pairs sets on each side that you would start from the beginning.
Sure.
And here I'm trying to encourage her to grab the burger with her hands.
And pick it up.
Like pick it up. But she wasn't going that
The
far.
horror.
Exactly. So there's those kinds of stories, I think, that are just fun culturally, and 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 then the other one is my belle maman, which is French for mother-in-law.
Okay.
And that's my husband's mother, who I've just fallen in love with. And she spoils us rotten with her French cooking. So if you love French cooking, there's scenes in there where she would just make us this 4 and 5 course meal. And in one particular instance, we were visiting her. She was living in Dijon at the time. That's where they're from. We had this great big dinner, and we went outside to take a walk to kind of burn off some of the calories. And suddenly it was a drizzly day, and all of a sudden she saw this snail, and she ran over and grabbed it. And she's like, wow, look at this beauty. And it was a burgundy snail. And she's like, I'll be right back. And she ran to the apartment, came back with a bag, and she asked Julian, what's the date? And he's like, July 5th or whatever it was. And she's oh, good. I'm like, what's that about? And he goes, well, hunting season for snails just started. Escargot hunting season started on July 1st. So she before you know it, she had 250 snails that she had picked up. and later we decided to smuggle most of them through customs to America when we came back for a trip, because she was going to meet my friends and make a great dinner for all of them. And so we had to get this, we call it Operation Escargot. We had
That
to
is
sneak
so
snails
funny.
past.
But I got to ask you, how did that not smell by the time you got it off the
Well,
plane?
that's the thing. I mean, the little secret is they weren't alive by that point.
Yes.
And that's the other thing that's quite interesting is I had no idea the process that goes into preparing an escargot, and so it's pretty horrific. It's and some people said, oh, I'll never eat another escargot again. I don't think that should be what people think, because most things we eat, if you had to do it yourself, you probably wouldn't, right?
Sure.
If you had to,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
You had to
remember
dig your
being
cow.
I remember being a little girl living in Manhattan and having escargot with the garlic and the butter at this
Yes.
beautiful French restaurant, and
Yeah.
oh, I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
Don't
Right.
think
And
I would
so
eat
I
them
think.
now, but yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I have a chapter in there as well about that, about just the different ways that food cuisine are looked at from some of the American customers that I have coming over. For example, they'll come to my restaurant, some tourists, very few, but some will come over and they'll want to eat my diner every day. And that makes me feel guilty, because the French part of me is like, Americans like, great, I love the business, the
Yes.
French that you're bringing me. But the French side of me is like, please try other food, go out. There's so much great
That's
stuff
very
in
nice
America.
of you.
Well, I think it's just so important. So that's the part in me that's become French, which for an American would shock them. Wait, you're turning away business? I'm like, I'm not turning away business per se. They're still coming. I'm just trying
Mhm.
to get them to experience
Other
while they're
things.
here.
Right.
And that's a pretty fun chapter there, because one friends from my high school came, and they were like that, resistant. They didn't want to go to anything, and they had 2 children, and my friend's wife kept saying, oh, they won't like that, they like Chuck E. Cheese, they like restaurants with fun and games and distractions. And I said, well, let's try it. And there, sure enough, the 7-year-old wanted to try snails, and the mother's like, oh, you'll never eat those, and the kid loved it. And
I bet
then,
they did.
but mainly the garlic butter.
Of course, that's how old I was.
Exactly.
I would dip the bread in the garlic butter.
Exactly. So I joke in the book. It says that 7-year-old learned what took me like 40 years to learn, that it's all about the garlic butter.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Where
there's those kinds of chapters in the book. Mhm.
now, where can people find out more about you?
Oh, well, Let Them Eat Pancakes is available online, of course, through Amazon, Barnes and
Mhm.
Noble. You can order it through your local bookstore, which I recommend, because especially during these times, our local bookstores, independent bookstores, really need support. And so if you have your favorite one near you, that's a place to order it. You can also follow me on Instagram at Pancakes in Paris. And what's the other one? Facebook.
Facebook.
Craig Carlson, author.
Okay.
And I also have a Craig Carlson author website, which you can follow, which has all the information on both books. And yeah. So.
Great. I have a question I did not ask. I was thinking, for people that are from Paris, do they eat the pancakes differently? There's certain things that you have that they
Mm-hmm.
prefer on the pancake as opposed to maple syrup or whipped cream.
That's interesting. Sorry, that's interesting. You should mention that, because, well, let me back up, because I think it's interesting to say why it's called Let Them Eat Pancakes.
Mhm.
Because when I first opened the restaurant, I knew already from living in France that they're very strict about when they eat, what they can eat, etc., at what time.
Oh,
And so the idea of breakfast at any time was just too much for them. So they would like, and I remember the very first customer, we both opened like 2 years, a French customer said, it was 10 p.m. Can I have pancakes now? And I'm like, of course you
of
can.
course.
Really? But it's nighttime. That's breakfast. I'm like, no, you can.
Great.
And so over time, now, majority of my French customers, which are 70%, are now ordering majority breakfast, lumberjack breakfast today at 5 o'clock, all lumberjack breakfast at a
Sure.
table of French people. And the pancakes, to your question, they don't smear butter all over it like Americans love to do. I can't get
Mhm.
them to do that. They want Nutella desperately on their
Ah,
pancake, which I haven't done yet, which I suppose I should give a try. But I say, I'll have chocolate chips, and we put them inside,
okay.
which they're surprised about too. It's like, it's inside the pancake, it's like a crepe, you put it on top,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's that. And I think, and the 100% maple syrup from Canada and whatever, that's only appreciated by Canadians and certain Americans. French are fine with the pancake syrup. but yeah, no, I would say culturally there, I think pancakes, they've taken to it like an American,
Good.
which is great.
That's
Yeah.
good.
But the quantity is big, very large for French customers. And so most of the time they don't finish their whole meal. And so one of the funny stories I have is as I introduced the French to the doggy bag, because when they first started, Julian's mom, very elegant woman, she's like, "Oh, that's very gauche to ask for your food to go. You should order just enough that you're going to finish what you eat."
Mm-hmm.
She just thought it was, even the name doggy bag.
Sure.
And so eventually a TV station in France came and did a report on the doggy bag in my restaurant. And
Oh,
before you
I
know it,
love that.
French people are finishing their pancakes and like, "Yeah, have a doggy bag." And
I don't have a doggy, but I'll take a doggy bag.
exactly. But there's a nice little footnote to this. The French government, you know how strong they are about the language and which words they're going to adopt into the language and that kind of thing. They came up with a term for it, which they want French people to use, which is the gourmet bag.
Oh, I
It's
like
not
that.
a
Okay.
doggy bag. So
Yeah.
no one's
A little
using it. They're
classier
just
than
saying
doggy bag.
Yeah, but I haven't heard a single French person say gourmet bag.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, that's
No,
cute.
they want the doggy bag.
So cute. Well, congratulations on your book. Could you give us a mini tour of what's behind you? Because it's gorgeous. Would you
Oh,
mind?
really? I
No
would love
pressure.
to. No, oh my God, this is great.
Okay.
So that's so again, it's in the works right now, but this has been this apartment was built in the 1800s in the Marais, which is one of the old sections of the city. And I'm going to take you over to the corner here.
Staircase.
So look at this staircase. My architect found it at a brocante or a antique store. Can you see it okay from here?
Looks like a theater staircase almost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's ironed, old iron, she said, from probably the early to mid 1800s.
Amazing.
Getting it up 6 flights of stairs without an elevator, let me tell you, was not
What
easy.
a workout. Could burn off a lot of pancakes.
Exactly. And this is where the bedroom's going to be, and that's going to be the view of the vaulted ceiling up there. See it?
Oh, gorgeous.
And Julian, I don't know if you can see the mezzanine. Do you see the mezzanine up on top?
Tilt it a little bit more. I do. Oh, and he's waving.
See Julian up there? Yeah.
Hello.
So that's where that stairway goes to.
Is there a window? There's a window out there, right?
I have to show you the rooftops of Paris because this is,
I've never been, and I really, really want to go when it's safe to travel.
Can you see the rooftops here?
Oh, this is beautiful.
Isn't that gorgeous?
It is gorgeous.
Look at the little old streets here.
And this is evening for you. This is, you are 9 hours ahead?
9 hours ahead. It's about 6:30 now.
Gorgeous.
Paris is actually at the level of Nova Scotia, so we have light until almost 10 p.m. here in the summer.
Oh, kind of like Alaska. Alaska's the same way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is gorgeous.
So yeah, you got a sneak peek of my apartment, which we're supposed to be able to move into in 2 weeks, they said.
Amazing. Well, when it's safe to travel, I would love to meet you in person, but this is the next best thing, I have to say.
Well, since you haven't been to France, you have to come. So you have to put that.
I would love to. I interviewed another author, and she's there too. So yeah, we'll have to plan something. Okay. Wonderful. Well, it has been fantastic because the first time I was just listening to you, talking to you on the radio. Yeah. We just had audio, so it's nice to meet you in person.
Nice to meet you in person too, and this has been really lovely. And
stay well.
I'm surprised to show people a little tour of my place.
I love it.
I feel like I was on HGTV or something.
By the way, what a nice diversion too, because there's so much going on with coronavirus. To have this house that is so gorgeous and it's your project is wonderful.
Yeah. It just keeps us focused on something very positive. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, stay well. I've really enjoyed this, and thank you again.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. I'm supposed to say au revoir, correct?
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
A bientôt. See you soon.
See you soon. Take care, Craig. Thanks so much.